Hey friends, I have been outside all day in the freezing cold. It's like 30 degrees, but I was thankful because I didn't have to pull my phone out of my pocket because I could easily check my notifications on this all day long. This is the Pebble Time. This little guy has been out for a while, and if you aren't aware, Pebble is coming back. Pebble is making the rounds in the nerd news outlets because back in the day, before Apple Watch and before all that stuff really kind of took over the scene, Pebble was a Kickstarter that started and was very successful, especially among nerds like myself. I had the original Pebble and then later got a Pebble Time. And this thing still works very well in 2025. And let's talk about that in just a moment. But if you aren't aware, the good news is, whether you had a Pebble or you are wanting a Pebble, is that Pebble is actually making a comeback. And so a quick just kind of overview how this came about. Back in the day, Pebble started and then was very successful, but kind of had a mission creep or tried to appeal to masses that weren't in its target audience initially and didn't really kind of bit off more than it could chew. And essentially Fitbit bought out Pebble, and then Google bought out Fitbit and kind of forgot about Pebble OS. And thankfully, they have been able to bend the ear of Google to open source and release the Pebble OS for open source, which means that Pebble is now working on a new piece of hardware and a new kind of a new take at this whole thing. So it's very exciting. But I want to talk about just using one of these old OGs right now and how it works. It actually is still very useful in 2025 to use the original Pebbles. They work just fine. It's pretty snazzy. You've got 4 buttons on here. Basically, you've got an end button on the left side, and then you've got an up, down, and a down button, up and down, and then in the middle is kind of your select. So it's like back, forward, down, up, kind of menu selection buttons. And there are essentially very simple features on here. You have push notifications that come through. If you're using Android, phone calls come through as well. And you can actually voice text, you can send emojis from it, you can add different things. So there's basically a little more functionality with the Android pairing with this, but iOS still has capabilities as well. You also have your step counter and a sleep tracker and the ability to change watch faces on here. Now, if you're trying to load this onto an Apple device in 2025, you do have to go through some steps to make it work. First off, you have to get the Pebble app loaded onto your iPhone. And the way you do this is download an app online called Sideloadly, Sideloadly. Google that, install that, and then if you go to, you can basically Google all this and just look for the Pebble iOS install. And the way it works is you download that install, you get Sideloadly, you plug in your iPhone to your MacBook or whatever you have, and then you can force that app onto this device using a USB cable. So it's a little bit confusing. You can Google the instructions on how to do it, but then every 7 days, basically, the app has to be re-signed and loaded on here. But you don't necessarily have to do that, because after you have the device paired with your phone, the notifications come through and you can do most of the things you want to do with Pebble on the watch itself. But if you decide that you want to check the app specifically, you will have to redo that process. Now on Android, it's a different story. You don't have to do all of that stuff. You can just download the app and make it work through one step, and that's the Rebel group. And Rebel is a piece of this puzzle for both iOS and Android. But you don't have to have Rebel to get the Pebble app installed onto your Android device. So that's what I'm trying to not confuse you guys. So you need the Pebble app, which you can get through the Android store, or you can sideload the APK very easily, rather. And then you can also do the sideloadly method for Apple, but then you need to use Rebel to make the app work with your device in 2025. Does that make sense? It's free to do, it's simple to do, it's not as complicated as I'm making it sound. But then the wonderful thing is that it has all of the possible watch faces you could want on there. I'm using the Mario time app face, and it basically, he jumps every minute and hits the blocks and it makes it happen. And actually, depending on what time of day, you see a different level of Mario on the watch, which is really fun, very cute. And you also have a Casio watch face that I really like. Another great feature that I love is the alarms feature. And this thing has the ability to do your sleep tracking. And the battery life is so good that you can wear this for multiple days without charging it. But specifically the sleep part of it, you can set a smart alarm while you're asleep. So if I need to wake up 8 hours from now, you can set a smart alarm. And the way the smart alarm works is it keeps an eye on your deep sleep, your REM cycle basically. And if you are coming out of a REM cycle, close to that time when you're supposed to be waking up, it will wake you up a little bit sooner than if, let's say your alarm is set for 5 a.m. and you come out of a REM sleep at 4:55, it's gonna wake you up versus waiting till 5 for you to basically start back into another cycle. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit confusing, but it's great. So then you basically get a better experience with your sleep, and that your watch kind of helps you wake up even better. So it's pretty incredible little tool. I don't know how they do this stuff, but so the tracking is really cool. Speaking of which, I'm getting a phone call right now from my mom, and that's what it looks like. And I can answer it or ignore it. I'm not going to answer it right now, Mom. I'm sorry. I'll have to call you back after this video. But if I want to answer it, I could just hit the check mark, but I'm gonna exit out the call there, and it's gonna cancel it. And then obviously notifications come through. So it's incredible. You can adjust your music, you can change your volume, you can read text messages without having to pull out your phone. So it's great to be able to plug this thing in another room, and then I have this that gives me my notifications. Big fan of Pebble. If you aren't aware, this is making its way back, so definitely go check out Pebble. It's repebble.com, I believe, where you can sign up for updates on this whole process. Highly recommend, even in 2025. Go on eBay and get one. Big fan, love it very much. I'm excited to see what the new iteration of Pebble is going to look like, and I'm excited to go enjoy the rest of my evening. I'm here in Boston and I'm freezing. It's so cold, but I'm going to go have some food with my buddy. I'll see you later. Bye.